Hi, this is Cyndi O'Meara from Changing Habits. Today we're going to be making chocolate, and we'll be making it with our cacao wafers, the Changing Habits Cocao Wafers, Changing Habits seaweed salt, and Changing Habits Rapadura sugar. And here is a look at what we'll be doing today, these beautiful chocolates. Now we're going to make chocolate in the Thermomix. There are a few basic ingredients that you need. You need the cacao wafer. This is the cacao butter and the powder still together. And Changing Habits now has these wonderful wafers, so that's 100% cacao. You also need some sweetener. So I use Rapadura sugar because it has to be a good quality sweetener. So I use my Changing Habits Rapadura sugar, and I like salt in my chocolate, so I use my seaweed salt, the Changing Habits seaweed salt. So they're your basic ingredients. If you want a softer chocolate, which I love, I use coconut oil. So I just add a little bit of coconut oil to soften the chocolate. Depending on how soft you want it, is how much coconut oil you add. So I'll give you the basic recipe, but then it's up to you how you do this. So here's the basic recipe. First of all, I set the scale on the Thermomix and I put 100 grams of sugar in. And that's the beautiful Rapadura sugar. Now, Rapadura sugar has nothing in it to keep it from clumping, so it's important that you do a bit of refining with it. At this point, if you want to make a chocolate that is, say, chili lime or lemon myrtle or kaffir lime, this is the time you actually add those ingredients. So if I'm going to make chili, I will add the chili at this point. And if I want hot chocolate, like a really hot chocolate, I'll add about a tablespoon to this. But if I don't want to burn everyone's mouth, I'll do about a teaspoon. With the lemon myrtle, you can easily add a tablespoon because it really brings the flavour out. And with the kaffir lime leaves, I usually freeze them so that they're easier to crunch within the sugar. This is also the time you add your salt. So I usually add about 1/4 teaspoon to a batch that I would normally make. So we just put the lid on. I put it on 10 for a period of about a minute. So this one we're just making a plain chocolate. So you'll notice that it's just a lot finer, because if you don't refine it down, it becomes really very crunchy. So if you want a crunchy chocolate, you don't have to do this, but I like mine a little bit finer. So that's what I do. And then I get my cacao wafers, the Changing Habits ones, and I just add 250 grams. So we'll just put 250 grams of this in. So of course with the Thermomix it's wonderful, it all weighs it. Almost there. There we go. It's my 250 grams. At this stage I chomp it down so that it's just got that little bit, it's easier to melt because we only melt it at 37 degrees, so you want it in smaller amounts. So I'll just bring it to about 6. You can hear it, it's about 4 or 5 seconds. And this is what it looks like. It's far more grounded, and by the way, at this point, you can actually sprinkle this on your cakes. So when the cake comes out of the oven and you want an icing, you just sprinkle it on, the cake kind of melts it, and it's absolutely beautiful. You could make a drink at this point by just adding milk to it and melting it. Of course, you wouldn't want 250 grams of chocolate, but these are the things that you can do with this. I actually want to refine this a little bit more so that it doesn't take quite as long, so I'm going to put it on for another couple of seconds. Yeah, that's far better. Didn't quite leave it long enough, so that's a little bit more refined in what we're doing. Now, because I want a softer chocolate, I'm going to add coconut oil. And I only add around 50 grams of coconut oil. So this is a lovely cold pressed one that I picked up at a fine food fair. It was absolutely beautiful. So there's 25 grams, so you can see it's not a lot. Remember, if you want a softer chocolate, you just put more in. If you want a harder chocolate, don't add it. Now what you'll notice is that it becomes it's absolutely beautiful when it comes quite moist and darker. And that's it, basically. And all you do at this point is I put it on for about 20 minutes. If you've got more time, do it 30 minutes. So I put it on for 20 minutes, 37 degrees. And because I want the sugar to really get in with the chocolate, it's important that you put it on speed 3. I won't put it on just yet, but speed 3 or 4. Because if you put it on 1, the sugar doesn't seem to meld with the chocolate, but if you put it on a higher speed and leave it at that higher speed, that's when the chocolate and the sugar really mix well together. Okay, so 20 minutes has just passed, and this is what it looks like. It's absolutely luxurious. So this is basically what it looks like now. It's become a very smooth chocolate and everything is melted, but only at 37 degrees. So it makes sure all the nutrition's still in there. So what do you do with it? Well, if you have put your chili in there, then this is the time that you put your lime oil in. So I will just grab a little bit of lime oil and I will put 4 drops of the lime oil in there if I've made it with chili. If I've done lemon myrtle, I will grab some lemon oil and put that in there. Now I use 28. That's the essential oil that I love to use, and it is an oil, it's not a flavour. So this is peppermint. I will use 5 drops if I just want peppermint chocolate. You can also use the orange oil if you would just like an orange chocolate. There's so many things that you can do. So that's if you use the chili and lime or the lemon myrtle and lemon, or you just want orange or you just want peppermint. That's what you do at that stage. And you let the Thermomix go for a couple of seconds just to blend it all in. You only need 4 or 5 drops. You do not need much more. If I'm going to, at this point, making the nut chocolate, so I've got some almonds here. I would have crushed them before I actually started the chocolate. So I could add the nuts at that point in here, and I usually add around 150 grams. Blend it, you can put it on reverse speed and just blend it. Or if I want to make a puffed quinoa chocolate, I would put probably about a cup in that, because then it really makes it beautiful and crunchy. Other things that you could add at this point would be a mixed nut and fruit also. So this is if you do not have any molds. So what do you do if you don't have any molds? So let's say you bought the cacao and the chocolate and the salt and you're ready to go. You don't have any molds. Then you can just use a glass or stainless steel baking dish. Put some wrap on it, some paper wrap, and then you just pour the chocolate in there. So I made just some before, and I just put it in a glass wrap. So we'll just take that off, and you just peel the paper off it, like so. At this point, I will then cut it. Just grab myself a knife. So I usually like to, see, I like to do it like that, and then what I do to make it look really nice is I cut it into squares, and then I will make triangles out of it. So we have just these beautiful chocolate pieces with nuts, and we have beautiful chocolate pieces with the nuts. So that's nearly a 500 gram amount of chocolate. So you're not going to go through it very fast, and I usually keep it in glass jars, but usually if there's people around, it will be eaten very quickly. So that's one way of doing what you need or what you want with that chocolate. So this is a mold that you can use, and it creates a chocolate very similar to this. And you can make different chocolates by putting different things in each of the sections. So we could make a cherry ripe, but we make it with goji berry and fresh coconut. Just put a little bit of coconut in there. We could also make one with puffed quinoa. So you just add the quinoa into each of the sections. Or we could do chia seed, not soaked, just put it in dry. The chocolate will bring it all up. And what I do with the chia seed is I add a little bit of probiotics. So if your kids aren't eating their probiotics, this is where you can get their probiotics in, and they won't know because they'll be eating chocolate. It's just wonderful. Okay, so just throw that in. Or we could do a little bit of chili. You just sprinkle the chili in. This is one of my favorites, is chili lime. So add the chili. We can also just do a mixed nut. And this is mixed nut and fruit. Or you could put some frozen raspberries or blueberries that have been chopped. The world's your oysters. You could put cinnamon, like if you got some cinnamon and ground this and put that in there. There's just so many options that you have to make different types of chocolate. So these are the little silicone trays. Now, normally I wouldn't cook with silicone, but we're not heating. This is at 37 degrees, so I'm not too worried about it. And for my way of looking at it, if you're making your homemade chocolate, let's make it nice and easy. So I put berries in these ones, but I'm just going to make these plain. So I would just pour these in. And if you slop it, don't worry, because what you can do is you just get a knife and you just put that knife over the silicone tray and make sure the chocolate goes in there. And yeah, you can even get it with your finger if you really want. Okay, so these are beautiful, these ones. Just pour it on, so easy. And then this is the chili. Now I could have put a couple of drops of lime in there, but it might have been a bit strong, so I make a whole batch of chili lime chocolate because it's such a favourite in this house. And here's my cherry ripe with goji berry and coconut. So we'll just add that in there. And then we'll put that in the fridge.